Politicians in California are endorsing efforts to directly resist federal law. Last weekend, Oakland Mayor Libby Schaaf warned local residents of imminent ICE raids, potentially allowing several dangerous criminals to escape. Now, the Lieutenant Governor Gavin Newsom, who hopes to become the governor soon once Jerry Brown leaves, is calling for other local leaders to do the same thing, because that'll make the state a lot better. Of course it will. Travis Allen is a California State Assemblyman and Republican gubernatorial candidate, and he joins us tonight. Michelle, thanks for coming on.
Thanks so much, Tucker. Pleasure being on.
So I haven't lived in California in a while, so I don't really know the answer, but does anyone notice that the state of California is an open rebellion against the United States? Is that noted out there?
You know, Californians are all scratching their head at what's going on with Jerry Brown, Gavin Newsom, the California Democrat Party. I will tell you right now, don't believe the media reports. Ordinary Californians are absolutely shocked at what's going on in the streets of California.
So, I mean, what do you think the core problem is? I mean, California was once the greatest state in the Union. People came from all over the world to live there. I mean, look at popular media from 50 years ago. People sang about moving to California. People are fleeing California now. What changed exactly, do you think?
Well, what changed is decades of the Democrats running the California legislature. As you may have heard, 39 of the last 40 years, the California Democrats have controlled both houses of the state legislature. And Jerry Brown and his father have controlled California for 24 of the last 50 years. So, as this has progressed, we've started to see our taxes go up, our businesses leave, our people leave. As a matter of fact, we had 243,000 Californians leaving over the last 7 years, taking $8 billion with them. And now we're seeing open lawlessness, where we have Javier Becerra, the criminal attorney general of California, openly threatening California businesses that if you follow federal immigration law, he's going to prosecute you. And of course, you've heard of Libby Schaaf. It's getting even worse now.
So tell me a little bit about the 250,000 Californians who've left in the past 7 years. I mean, those are middle class. Those are normal middle class people, right? I mean, the kind that you form a society around.
Well, I can tell you very personally, these are my parents. My parents have left the state. My brother's left the state. My best friend now lives in Texas, where he doubled the size of his house, doubled the size of his business, and he pays no state income tax. I'm also an investment advisor in addition to being a California State Assemblyman. And I can tell you that my clients all started in California. They're now in 22 different states around the nation. I
mean, do the people who run the state have any, do they know this? Do they pay any attention? I know your tech sector is doing well, and you've got more poor people than ever, so you're sort of booming on either end, but are they worried about the middle class fleeing?
If you listen to Jerry Brown and Gavin Newsom, it's as if they live in a bubble. They absolutely do not see this. But it's understandable. I mean, if you were Gavin Newsom, the former mayor of San Francisco, and you had maps of human waste so people can actually navigate through your city, hypodermic needles on your sidewalk, and actually now opening heroin injection centers starting in July in San Francisco, I think it might make sense to look the other way at the facts, because that really is the only explanation in California. Highest poverty in the nation, 1 in 5 Californians living below the poverty line, highest homelessness in the nation, and I mean, the numbers go on and on.
They destroyed something so beautiful, and they should be punished for it. Assemblyman, thank you. Good luck.
Thank you very much.
U.S. News & World Report just released their new best states ranking, and they have bad news for the state of California. Despite having a powerful economy, the most fertile farmland in the world, probably the prettiest physical environment on planet Earth, California was rated dead last in quality of life, if you can even believe it. Ethan Behrman is a California radio host. He still lives there. He joins us tonight. Ethan, how do you take a place that was world famous as Eden and in 50 years make it the worst place in America? And please don't blame others. Like, the people who run the state should take, I think, responsibility for that, don't you?
Well, it's a complicated issue. Here, we specifically have the issue, if you're going to go 50 years, Tucker, the population has well more than doubled in that time. And because we have all the natural beauty, we have mountains,
where did they come from? Hold on. Where did the majority, in the past 30 years, where did the majority of those people come from? Did they come from the Midwest? Or these? No, they came from a third world country. Do you think it might have something to do with it?
I think that is a very complicated issue. If you look in Silicon Valley in particular, Tucker, since you were just talking about the booming Silicon Valley, that is a lot of coming from South Asia, from China, from countries that you might think are poor, but they've come in and they've contributed and they've built tremendous businesses. We have a massive Sikh community. We have a Korean
they've
community.
Been great. They've been great, and they represent a tiny percentage of the population of California. The overwhelming majority have come from Latin America, and a lot of them are awesome people and smart and add a lot. And even the super poor ones, I think a lot of them are really great people. But the truth is, if you import millions of really poor people with no education, doesn't mean they're bad people, but maybe your state gets a lot more like the countries they left. Can we admit that, or are we pretending that's not true still?
Well, I don't think I agree with you, because remember, the cost of living here is extremely high. That is, when you look at that U.S. News and World Report and you look at how they measure what you just talked about, quality of life, it's cost of living is what's throwing us way out of whack.
So maybe too many people came over the border and the state is totally overpopulated, and you're dealing with the normal problems that come with overpopulation, like really expensive housing prices, no?
No, part of our problem here actually is a little bit of NIMBYism. We love our green space, so we restrict development, and anytime you restrict development, you're a free market guy.
Really, green
space. You know
space.
that causes prices to go up.
So I want to show you a picture that a friend of mine took last week. He works downtown San Francisco, 2 blocks from Uber. This is the street right in front of his office. I think it's Market Street in San Francisco, one of the richest cities in the world. Those are hypodermic needles. They're syringes that heroin addicts left there. That's not green space. That's filth. And why would anybody, look, if your city looks like that, you've failed. Can't we just admit that, or are we still pretending that's progress?
I think that there is a real significant issue that is happening in California, that 1/8 of our homeless population, we know this from the surveys, they come here from elsewhere. This is actually a federal issue that Californians are having to deal with, because you don't die in a nor'easter here, Tucker. In Minneapolis, where I grew up, people die because they freeze to death. So
why doesn't Houston's more temperate even than San Francisco? But Houston doesn't look like that. It's kind of weird. I mean, you'd think if it was just like the weather, that Houston, which is bigger, of course, than San Francisco by a factor of 5 or whatever, would have, you know, a lot more hypodermic needles. But wait, there are none. Why is that? Any idea?
So we have more lenient drug laws here, and we always have. But we also
it's run by liberals
who
aren't good at running things.
We have a problem, though. The opioid epidemic right now, Tucker, so if you're going to point out hypodermic needles, 65,000 people a year are dying right now because of that. Heroin and the opioid epidemic plays into all of that, including rural Kentucky and rural Ohio. But because
none of which look
San
like
Francisco
that,
is a big target, then you can point out San Francisco.
Okay, let me just ask you quickly. So you won't concede that unrestrained immigration has affected the poverty level in California, the crowding in California, the rising housing prices in California. The millions of poor people coming to this state have had no bad effects at all. Will you concede that unrestrained immigration in California has had any downside at all? Any?
Yes, the biggest downside is the criminal element likes to prey on them, and we've had a real problem in
they're
California.
The victims. This is like a parody.
No, absolutely, yeah.
So it's
there's
not
no
Kate
question,
Steinle
there's a lot
who's
of
the
abuse
victim.
that happens, and
it's the illegal.
This is why we need to. This is why we need Congress to deal with the immigration issue. We need a solution. The president brought all the leaders together into the White House. He told them to make a deal, and even said he would take the heat. Yet the Republicans have chosen not to do anything about it.
Okay, unfortunately, we're out of time, because that's actually one of the more hilarious conversations I've ever had. I hope you will come back. Ethan, it's great to see you.
Thank you.
It's a case where being number one means really you're number two. A new study ranks California dead last of all the states in quality of life, making it tops at being on the bottom. States were ranked on everything from education to opportunity, from infrastructure to crime. But California scored low for one simple reason. It's impossible to live there unless you are super rich or homeless. Then come one, come all. But just ask any U-Haul dealer. Renting a truck to go from San Francisco to Dallas will cost $3,200. The return trip, only $1,100. That's a 180% surcharge. And it's based on a truck shortage in California, because so many people are leaving one left-wing city to a more pragmatic, affordable one. So maybe Californians leaving California, they're the real dreamers. But anyone who's been to LA knows the ugly truth. It's turned into a post-apocalyptic wasteland with 55,000 homeless in that county alone. Massive encampments have enveloped Skid Row, under overpasses and streets nearby. SF isn't much better, spending millions last year on cleaning up human waste left on its streets by the homeless. It's odd. We're living in a time where Hollywood embraces dystopian fiction. They spend millions trying to recreate the look of life after nuclear war. I could save them some money. Just grab an iPhone and drive downtown. All right, I'm going to go to you, Juan. I never go to you first, so I thought it might be a time to ask this question. California has like the largest percentage of poor, yet massive government services. What does that tell you? What does that tell you, sir?
That they're meeting the needs of the people?
No, it's that they're not. Even with no matter how much money they have.
I thought you were saying they have a huge homeless population, and the government spends a lot of money dealing with the
And
poor.
you have villages.
Well, here's the thing. You know, one, I think that the real reason they ranked at the bottom is lack of human interaction, from what I read.
I read that too.
Okay, so I'm just saying, I think that you were on target in saying it's like the rich. You can live a fabulous life in California, but if you're not rich, then your rent is too high, people don't interact, and it's not a communal type of
everybody's
place.
driving.
Everybody's into their own private space. So to me, I understand what you're saying, but I had a question for you.
No questions,
Why
Greg.
are conservatives delighting in California being ranked as the worst?
Oh, no, I'm not. Because, well, no, I think we like to be proven correct.
Oh.
That when you see massive liberal bureaucracies fail, we go, why didn't you listen to us? I'm sad that I have to leave California. I'm from there, Jesse.
So you have income inequality, you have pollution and segregated neighborhoods. What have Republicans done to this? Oh, wait, no, it's run by Democrats. All the things Democrats say they're against, they're just stewing in their own state.
Yeah.
I've been to Skid Row. It was the scariest moment of my life. You know, I've been to every single neighborhood, south side of Chicago. I've been to Detroit, everything. I did not leave the car because they said it was so unsafe.
That was
a bunch of white guys with expensive cameras walked outside into these encampments. It's honestly like Armageddon. It's post-apocalyptic. You have zombies on drugs wandering around. There's needles everywhere. There's no law enforcement. It's lawless. It's chaos. It's dirty. It's infested with disease. It's the scariest place on earth. You'd think it was in a third world country. It's right next to City Hall.
Yeah.
And they tolerate it.
Ironically, if you go to a Skid Row concert, it's actually enjoyable. Kimberly, Bay Area, sad. You're from the Bay Area, San Francisco.
I was born and raised in San Francisco, so I'm a native. Yeah, it's very sad, I think, what's gone on there, because they think with the liberal politics that this is what love should look like, that you trash your city, that you allow anything goes, that you have sanctuary cities, you let the citizens get murdered, there's total lawlessness and no public safety.
Who's going to be the
no
next
public
governor?
Cleanliness. I think Gavin Newsom. I mean, you know, he's in a tight race with Antonio Villaraigosa, so we'll see. So it's going to be the battle of the.
And I know he's not a typical liberal.
But he was good when he was mayor of San Francisco. I was there, although that was part of the reason, right? Let's keep it on. Let's clean this up around here.
But don't forget, the economy there is terrific.
For some people want.
No, I'm just saying I think it's like the fourth best economy in the nation.
Well, you got Silicon Valley and you got Hollywood. I want to get Dana.
I
lived in California, but in a different place. So I lived in San Diego for 3 years.
Beautiful city.
Like 99, yeah, till I went back to the Justice Department in 2001 after 9/11. And San Diego's been run by conservatives and Republicans for most of its, at least the county has. I wouldn't say that necessarily about the mayor, though the mayor is a Republican. Kevin, I believe he still calls himself that. Kevin, hello. But you know what's interesting? Democrats will say that Eric Garcetti, the current mayor of Los Angeles, they talk about him as a realistic candidate for president in 2020.
Wow.
He's very nice.
Yeah,
I worked for his father at Gil Garcetti, and I spent a lot of time at the family's house, and I lived with his sister, Dana, in Los Angeles.
Garcetti?
Yes.
What is a small world, isn't it?